post bankruptcy, has it gotten much better? Was it worth it, in your opinion, as someone who knows something about working on cars?
Chrysler went downhill. GM went
Chrysler
up.
went downhill,
So
GM went
Wow.
uphill.
but I think part of Chrysler's problem was
But
when
I
they
think
paired
part
with
of
Fiat.
Chrysler's problem
I
is when
think
they
they're getting
paired
a
with
lot of
Fiat.
influence from
I
Fiat.
think they're getting a lot of influence from
Like
Fiat,
that
and
joke, Fiat, fix it again, Tony.
um,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the Chrysler 200.
yeah, the
You know,
Chrysler
when I first
200.
saw that car come out, it
You know,
looked
when
like
I
a great
first saw
car,
that
but
car come out, it looked like a great
after
car,
Mm.
but
a year or so,
after
the
a year or
reliability
so,
report, the consumer reports
the
started coming back.
reliability report, the consumer report
Wow.
started coming back.
It's not.
Well, folks, Matthew is
It's
spilling
not
the beans here.
working.
He's telling all the little secrets. He's trying to remain in the dark, half anonymous. It's not working, Matthew.
Well, I've
Well,
I'm
I
just
know a
kidding.
lot
I've
about Chrysler, so I don't want to
I
talk
know a
too
lot
bad about
about
them. I
Chrysler,
worked
so
for
I
the
don't want to
Chrysler
talk too bad
dealership.
about them. I
I
worked
won the
for a
Gold
Chrysler
Tool
dealership.
Award,
I
the
won the
Master Tech
Gold
Gold
Tool
You're the
Tool
Award,
Award.
the Master
certified
Tech Gold
AS,
Tool Award.
whatever you call it, right? Whatever. So, like if I'm going to ask someone, right?
I'm
Certified through
certified.
DCA, Daimler
I'm
Chrysler
certified
Academy.
through DCA,
Oh,
Daimler
I
Chrysler
started in
Academy. So
2003
I started in
with Chrysler,
2003
okay.
with
so
Chrysler.
I kind of got the inside scoop on
So
that.
I
Oops,
kind of got the
oops.
inside scoop
So
on what's going
yeah,
on there.
I won the
So
Master Tech Gold Tool
yeah, and
Award
I
three
won the
times.
Master Tech Gold Tool Award three
Good.
times.
Okay. So
And
I figured I could trust what you have to say.
And then we acquired a Jeep
and
franchise
then we
and
acquired a
a Dodge
Jeep
franchise.
franchise and
Okay.
a
Well,
Dodge
that's right.
franchise. So
Chrysler has Jeep. Are Jeeps okay? Or
Um,
um,
there's some good Jeeps in the
there's
lineup.
some good Jeeps in the
okay.
lineup,
The
some
year
bad ones.
depends as
The
well.
year
Okay.
Like
depends
the
as
Jeep
well.
Wrangler, for
Like
example, a lot of
the
people
Jeep
love them.
Wrangler, for
I
example, a
owned
lot of
one.
people love them.
I don't want to
I
own one
owned
again.
one.
Okay, now that's
I don't
fair.
own one
Okay.
again.
All right.
I used
You
to
know,
like Jeeps, then I bought
I
one.
used to like
Don't like
Jeeps,
Jeeps no more.
All
then
right.
I bought
So
one. Don't like Jeeps no more.
without getting too
It's
if you had to buy
it's
a four-wheel drive or an all-wheel drive, which one would you buy? Give me a number one pick, a number two pick.
Well, if we're talking four-wheel drive
Well,
pickup
if we're
trucks,
talking
Yeah.
four-wheel
I think
drive
my
pickup
number one
trucks,
pick would
I think
probably
my
be
number
the
one
Toyota
pick
Tacoma
would
right now.
What
probably be
about
the
an
Toyota
SUV?
Tacoma right now.
SUV? Haven't really thought about that
SUV?
too much.
Haven't really thought
Um,
about that too much.
well, Toyota makes some great
Um,
stuff, but I
well,
think their
Toyota makes
SUV
some
line,
great
the
stuff, but I
Forerunners,
think their SUV
I
line,
think
the
they were a little bit
Forerunners and
better a
so
few
forth,
years back.
I think
Okay.
they were a little bit better a
So,
few years back.
no, I'm not
So,
really sure. Maybe
no,
the
I'm not really sure. Maybe
Is the Ford Escape okay? Just as a
the Ford Escape is
yeah,
okay.
the
It's
Ford
not
Escape
really
is okay. It's not
it's not really a
really
good
it's
off-roading
not really a
vehicle.
good
no. Let's say like in
off-roading
Ohio,
vehicle.
snow,
Right,
hills.
it's good for that,
Okay.
sure.
Right, it's good
It's
for that, sure, because
the
it's
advantage to snow, as you probably
the
know,
advantage to
front-wheel drive
snow,
cars do
as you
better than rear-wheel
probably
drive
know,
cars.
front wheel
Yes.
drive cars do
The
better
Ford
than rear wheel
Escape is
drive cars.
kind of set up
The Ford
the
Escape
way
is
that an
kind of
all-wheel
set up
drive
the way that
car
an all wheel
chassis would be,
drive
with a front
car
wheel bias.
chassis would be,
The Ford
with a
Escape
front
would
wheel
probably
bias.
be a good
So
choice
the
for
Ford
that.
Escape would
Okay.
probably
Let
be
me
a good
ask you this:
choice
as far as
for the snow.
maintenance and reliability, is all-wheel drive more reliable than four, or vice versa?
In terms of reliability, it's
In
about the
terms of
same if you do
reliability,
the
it's
proper
about the
maintenance.
same if
Depending
you
on the
do the
type of
proper
vehicle,
maintenance.
um,
Depending on the
like
type
an
of
all-wheel drive
vehicle,
car,
um,
most
like
of
an
the
all-wheel
time the
drive
front
car,
transaxle is
most of the time the
lubricated
front
through an all-wheel
transaxle
drive
it's
engine
lubricated and
installed
fueled
in the
from the
operating
transmission,
system.
so it's all
All-wheel drive is
incorporated in the
okay.
same system.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, in some all-wheel drive cars, if you have a
Yeah,
truck
well,
like
in
the
some
Toyota
all-wheel drive
Tacoma,
cars, if you have a
you've got a
truck
front and
like the
rear
Toyota
differential and a
Tacoma,
transfer
you have
case.
a front and rear
It's a little bit
differential and a
extra
transfer
maintenance to
That's
case.
the
maintain.
four-wheel
A
drive
little bit
versus,
extra
because I'm a little
maintenance to
confused here. That's
maintain.
the four-wheel drive.
Yeah, the four-wheel drive pickup truck. The
Yeah, the
cars
four-wheel drive
are
pickup
designed
truck.
like
The
the Ford Escape are a
cars
little bit different than a
designs like
pickup truck.
the Ford Escape, they're a little bit
Pickup truck
different than a pickup truck
it's
would
more
be.
rugged,
Because
so
a
that they
pickup
have
truck
their
is
own
it's more
separate
rugged, so that
components.
they have their own
So
separate
a pickup
components, right?
truck would have it's rear-wheel
So
drive
a pickup
normally
truck would
in a
have
two-wheel
its
drive. So
rear-wheel
you have the
drive
transmission,
normally in a
drive
two-wheel
shaft
drive. So
to
you
the
have the
differential to the rear
transmission,
wheels on a
drive
regular two-wheel
shaft
drive
to the
truck.
differential to the rear
On a
wheels on a
four-wheel
regular
drive,
two-wheel drive
they'd
truck.
put a transfer
On
case
a
at
four-wheel
the back of
drive,
the
they'd put a
transmission,
transfer
and
case
that would
at the back of
send
the
the power
transmission,
to the front
and
and
that
the
Okay.
would
rear.
send the
So
power
you'd have
to
a
the front
differential in
and
the
to the
front and
rear.
rear. So you would
So
have
you'd
to
have a
change the
differential in
fluid
the
in
front and
those
rear. So
at
you would have to
regular
change the fluid
intervals.
in those
But as long as you
the
do that,
regular
it's
intervals. But as long as you
equally
do that,
So
reliable.
the
it's
maintenance is about the same, whether it's
equally as
all-wheel or
reliable as
four-wheel drive. About the same.
Yeah, as long as the proper maintenance is done.
Yeah, as
Now,
long as the
four-wheel drive,
proper maintenance is
vehicles,
done. Now, four-wheel drive
tend to get worse gas
vehicles
mileage than two-wheel drive vehicles.
tend to get worse gas mileage than two-wheel drive
Especially the
vehicles.
pickup trucks. Even if you're in two-wheel
Especially the
drive with
pickup trucks. Even if you're in two-wheel
Toyota
drive with
is
the
an
pickup
exception to
trucks,
this because they have
Toyota
their
is an
hubs can
exception to this
disconnect
because they
from the
have
axle.
their hubs can
But
disconnect from the
on a
axles
lot
in
of
the
the
front.
domestic vehicles, like
But
Jeep, for
on a lot of the
example,
domestic vehicles, like
those
Jeep, for
hubs are
example,
locked in
mentioned
all the
Jeep,
time. So the entire
those
time the
hubs
front
are
wheels are
locked in
turning,
all the time.
it's
So the
turning
entire time the front
axles,
wheels are
which is turning
turning,
the front
it's
differential,
turning the
which is
front
turning the front
axles,
drive
which is
shaft.
turning the front
Even if it's not
differential, which is
engaged,
turning the front
all
drive
those
shaft.
parts are still
Even if it's not
turning with the
engaged,
wheels,
all of those
and
parts
that's
are
extra
still
drag,
turning
right?
with the
So
wheels.
fuel
And that's
mileage
extra
goes down.
drag,
Okay.
right? So
So that is
fuel
something
mileage
to
goes down
consider.
there.
But
So that
like
is
the
something to
Toyotas,
consider.
their
But
hubs completely
you know,
disconnect
like
when
the
you
Toyotas,
disengage
their
four-wheel
hubs
drive.
completely disconnect
So
when
when
you
you're not in four-wheel drive,
disengage
it
four-wheel
behaves
drive.
just like a two-wheel
So when
drive.
you're not in
And
four-wheel
you
drive,
think
it
that's
behaves
better
just like a
in
two-wheel
the
drive
long
vehicle
run,
would.
where you can manually, with the switch or whatever, switch between four and non four-wheel drive?
Yeah.
Those are better.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
you can do that with a lot of the vehicles too.
Well,
But
I mean,
it's how
you
the
can do that with a lot of the
four-wheel
vehicles too,
drive
but it's
vehicle
it's
is
how
set
the
up.
four-wheel drive vehicle is set
You
up.
can tell if you look at the front wheel on a Toyota
You can
truck,
tell if you look at the
you
front
can
wheel
see
on a
that it
Toyota
has
truck,
a hub in the
you
front
could
that
see
says
that it
auto lock.
has a
Some of the
hub
older
in the
ones, you
front.
actually have to
It
get out
says
the car
auto
door and turn
lock.
the knob
Some of
on
the
it.
older
Most
ones you
cars
actually
have
had to
like
get
a
out and
little
turn
switcher
turn
or
a knob to
something
lock them
on
in.
the dash.
Um,
Yeah.
those are fine because the front hubs
Um,
disconnect when you're in two-wheel drive.
those are
Okay.
fine because the front hubs disconnect when you're in
You
two-wheel
know, you're
drive.
not really being affected by
So
the
it's
extra drag of
you
those
know you're not
components.
really being
So in
affected by
all-wheel
the extra
drive,
drag
it's
of those
always
components.
all
But
wheels, right?
Right, all the time, and that can negative
right,
impact
all the
on
time, and
Whereas
that
four-wheel
can
drive, it
have
might be a
negative
little better
impact
because you
on fuel
can
economy.
manually switch and go to what, two-wheel drive versus four-wheel drive.
Yeah. But
Okay.
some of the domestic vehicles,
Yeah.
like Jeep, even when
But
you're
some of the
disconnected from
domestic
four-wheel
vehicles,
drive,
like Jeep,
the
even when you're
axles
disconnected
don't
from four-wheel
disconnect from the
drive,
hubs like on
the
some
axles
vehicles. So
don't
Okay.
disconnect from
the
the
whole time you're
hubs
driving
like
down
on
the
some
road,
vehicles. So
you're turning those
the whole
components
time you're
more
driving
drag.
down the road, you're
Okay.
turning those
All
components.
right.
There's
So
more
we talked
drag.
about like
So
reliability and
yeah,
domestic versus foreign. Let's end this with some quick buying tips. Let's stick with used cars. Okay. The way I did it in the past, I would do my homework before. If I was going to have car payments, I would get myself pre-approved for a car. And don't forget to check your car insurance company for a loan. Let's say I wanted a 2012 Honda Accord with 90,000 miles, approximately 6-cylinder automatic sunroof. I would normally go to my bank and say, what's the car loan on this car? And you would have a range. We'll just say 12,000 miles. I'm sorry, $12,000. And I would say, well, can I get pre-approved for this? We'll just say yes. With that information beforehand, let's go to the car dealership. Yeah, the red one, that's what I want, the mileage, everything. I offer you 12,000 miles out the door. Tell your manager yes or no. Do you want to test drive the car? No. Why, is there something wrong with it? Oh, no. Well, then let's cut the deal first. Because their goal is to have you test drive this, test drive that, to get you at a higher price. Now, they have a right to a profit. No problem. But the way to trim down the process is make the final offer, and you have to say out the door, which means tax, title, car wash, oil. You know what I mean. You do that first. If the service manager says, "Sorry, sir, we cannot sell you that car," no problem. Shake his hand. Maybe I'll see you and go to the next dealership. If he says yes, then you test drive the car. Now, let's say, oh, the radio's out, the AC's out. Well, now you got to come down lower on the price because you just told me there's nothing wrong with the car. It's usually not that way, but you never know that the knob is loose or something. And they'll usually work it out with that. But you make the deal first. Okay? Here's my offer. It's either yes, it's 12,000, not 11,999, not 12,001. It's 12,000. And you got to be specific, right?
Salesmen can be sneaky too. They can get you to agree to stuff.
salesmen can be sneaky too. They can get you to agree to stuff that you don't know
Okay,
you're
but
agreeing
normally once you get the price right, you test drive the car, and if it's what you want, you got to be happy with it. Because now you got a car loan or even cash for that matter. And you do your homework. You go to the bank, you get the loan value of the car, and you can go to KBB Auto Trade and get a reasonable, Edmunds is a good one. It gives you some reliability ratings, opinions, and comments. That's what I use. That's what I use. What I used to buy the Buick, and it worked out for me. Now here's the thing, though. Because you're being very specific on a used car, it may take you a week or a month, or in my case, it took 3 months to find the right car at the right price. When you're buying new, that's the price, more or less, you know. And if you go to one dealership but they don't have the car, they'll find you that new car at another spot. With used, you have to be more flexible, but you can save a lot of cash. And that's how I would do it. Now that's the buying process. Matthew, if you have something else, go ahead.
Well, I agree with what you said, but if you're looking for a used
Well,
car,
I agree with what you said, but
there's a lot of
if you're looking for a used car,
things in that market that people
there's a
don't know
lot
about.
of things in that market that people don't know about. Like
Outrageous.
the markup
Yes.
of a dealership on a
You should
used
stay
car
away
is
from used cars at
outrageous.
dealerships unless
So you should stay away from used
certified
cars at dealerships unless it's a certified used car.
is still
Because a
warranted
certified used
by the
car
manufacturer.
is still
Like a new car dealership
warranted
selling used
by
cars.
the manufacturer.
Exactly. So if,
Yeah.
if the car is a certified used car,
Exactly.
that
So
means the
if the
dealership
car is a certified
looked at
used
the
car,
car
that
and
means the
determined that
dealership
there's
has
nothing majorly
looked
wrong
at the
with
car
this
and
car,
determined
we
that
feel good about
there's nothing majorly
honoring
wrong with
the
this
original
car.
warranty on
We
this
feel
car.
good
Most
about
certified used
honoring
cars are
the
lease
original
turn-ins.
warranty on this
Most-
car. Most
so
certified
somebody
used cars
leased the
are
car
lease
Okay.
turn-ins.
for 2
Most
years
of
and
them.
then
So somebody
the
leased a
lease
car
gives
for a
the car
year
back to
or
you.
2 years, and then
That's most
okay,
of
I'm
the
done with the
certified
lease.
used
Here's the
cars.
car
Okay.
back. You know that's
certified
most
used
of the
cars
certified used cars.
Buy from the dealer.
So
Those are
certified used cars
Okay.
get the
buy
original
from the
factory
dealer.
warranty
Those are
with that
fine
car,
because
and it's
you
honored by
get
the
the
dealership.
original
So if anything
factory
does
warranty
happen
with that car,
Okay.
and it's honored by the
Okay.
dealership. So if anything
One
does
more
happen
thing.
to it,
cars
you're covered.
outside of that, I think
Other
the
used
best
cars
deals
outside of that,
Yeah.
I think the
a
best
lot of
deals are
times
from
because
private parties.
private parties, you don't have that
A
overhead,
lot of
right?
times
So
because
you can save a
private
lot of
parties
money
you
that
don't
way.
have that
My
overhead,
car,
right? So
my Camaro,
you can
I
save a
paid
lot of money that way.
$2,800 for it.
My car,
I knew it
my
had some
Camaro, I
issues
paid
with the brakes when I
$2,800
test
for
drove
it.
The pedal was
I knew it
pulsating,
had some
so,
issues with the brakes when I
just
test drove
minor
it.
stuff.
The
So
pedal was pulsating,
I paid
so
$2,800
just
for the car.
minor stuff. So
$600 into it.
I paid
Now I got
$2,800 for the
But
car.
it's
I
your
put
labor. You
$600
pay
into it, and now I got a
No,
good car.
I did the work myself.
One more thing I would
No,
recommend.
I did the work
I
myself.
didn't do it with the
Um,
Buick, but buy a used car from a state that has mandatory state inspections. I think you're better off in terms of the mechanics and the emissions and the brakes. Right? That makes sense.
Make sure the sticker on the windshield is current.
Yeah.
Make sure the
When I
sticker
bought
on
my
the windshield
Toyota,
is
that
current.
was in PA, and they have mandatory,
Yeah.
and I felt a little bit more comfortable, safer. I mean, it was from a Toyota dealership, but the fact that they had mandatory inspection helped me out a lot in terms of making the offer.
Yeah.
All right, so that's the buying part. Let's end this
Yeah.
buying a used car from the mechanical part. For an example, start it up. If you see blue smoke coming out of the exhaust, don't buy the car. Right? What else can you quickly tip us on for use? What to look for mechanically wise, real quick.
Well, the first thing people usually notice is how
Well,
the car looks.
The first thing people usually
That doesn't
notice
tell
is
you
how
the
the
whole
car
story,
looks.
But if the car looks like it's
That doesn't
clean
tell you the whole
and it
story,
doesn't
but if
have
the
a lot of
car
wear and tear
looks
on
like
it,
it's
then an
clean
indication that
and
the
it
owner
doesn't
cares
have a
about
lot
the
of wear and
car.
tear on it, then it's an indication that the owner cares about the
Yeah.
car and is taking care of it. So it's a good
Usually,
sign.
you want to see if the
Um,
car has been sitting in the
But
same place for a while.
usually
If it
you want to
has,
see if a car has been
see any
sitting
fluid
in the same
underneath of
place
it.
for a
You
while, and
want
if
to
it
listen
has,
for engine noises.
you see any fluid underneath of
blue
it,
smoke,
you
white
want to
smoke.
listen for engine noises and the blue smoke, white
just
smoke.
basic stuff. Move the wheel back
Um,
and forth. Listen for any weird.
just basic stuff.
Obviously,
Move
you
the
wanna
wheel back
drive
and
it,
forth.
make sure
Listen
it
for any
tracks
weird
straight,
groans.
nothing-
Obviously, you want to drive it. Make sure it
Um,
tracks
I
straight
would
and there's
refer
nothing
to a YouTube
weird
channel.
going on.
The guy's name is Chris
I would
Fix.
refer to a YouTube channel. The
I've
guy's
heard of it,
name is
yeah.
Chris
He
Fix.
has
That's
a video
the
that
YouTube
goes
channel.
on for about 20 minutes.
He has a
He
video
really
that goes
in
on for
depth
about 20 minutes,
on what to look for
and
a
he
used car.
really
You can
goes
even
in
download a
depth
worksheet from
on
him.
what to look for a used
Like a
car. And you can even
checklist of things
download
to
a
look
worksheet from him,
Nice.
like a
If you are
checklist on
interested in
things to
looking
look
a
for.
used car from a private party, I
So
would definitely
if
recommend
you are interested in looking for a used
Another
car from
one
a
is the
private
car
party, I would
guy,
definitely
Eric the car
recommend
guy. I think that
go to his channel and find him.
up in Pennsylvania. He's
Eric the car
he's
guy
pretty knowledgeable.
up
He
in
has a
Pennsylvania.
fix and
He's
forward program that he's doing.
He's
Yeah,
pretty
that's actually
knowledgeable. He
pretty
has that
nice.
Fixing
Yeah,
It Forward
yeah.
program that he's
I've been
doing.
watching his
So.
videos, and as a certified mechanic
Yeah,
myself, I can
I've
tell
been
you
watching
he
his
does know what
videos,
he's
and
talking
as
about.
a
It's for
certified
real. Yeah.
mechanic myself,
Okay.
I can tell you he does know what he's talking about.
Okay.
He's
Um,
Eric the car guy.
yeah,
He's for real.
I've even being certified.
Yeah,
as
it's I've even being certified as a gold tool certified myself. I've still learned things from Eric that I didn't already know. So
There's another
definitely a
Scotty
great
Gilmer.
source of information
Yeah.
there.
He does some-
There's another Scotty
he's a little
Kilmer.
more,
He
basic
does
in
them
his
as well.
information.
Yeah.
He's a little more
The information's
basic
still
in
good.
his
He does,
information.
once a
You
week
know,
he
it's
does a
the information's still
Okay.
good. He does
Cool.
once a week. He
all
does
great
a
resources
Q&A
if you're
on
thinking about finding a used car.
all great resources if you're
Fixing the
thinking
car
about
that you got.
finding a used
Right.
car,
He has a forum.
or even fixing the car that you got.
Visit
You
for
know,
that.
Eric the car, he has a
Cool.
forum that you can
A lot of great resources.
visit for that sort of thing.
Right.
So,
Yeah, absolutely.
great resources
You've
out
done a couple Fix-It videos on your YouTube channel, right?
Yeah, a couple. I don't really have the audience.
yeah, a couple. It's
I know you do mainly Linux, Windows
really have
tutorial,
the
and those
audience
are
for
great,
that
by the
kind
way.
of
Check
thing.
him out. He's coming from a dual booter myself who likes to keep it simple. Matthew knows his stuff. I certify that.
Well, I might have some more car videos coming up.
I might have some more car videos coming up. I
Cool,
just
man.
got hired.
I've done a
for,
couple. I think
parts
I did one or
people, so,
two. I have to look back how to change the air filters. Something simple for newbies. Maybe you can do that. How to check your air filter if it needs changed.
It would be easier for me to do that because working for the company that
But it would
supplies
be
parts,
easier
I
for
get
me to do that because working for the company that
Well,
supplies
there you
the
go. I
parts,
think there would be
get
like a
pretty big
viewership for that,
discount on
Matthew. I mean, I've done a few here and there with like a vlog style with my flip video camera sometime, but
My car has an engine light on right now for an EGR valve.
My car has an engine light on
exhaust
right now
gas
for an
recirculation,
EGR valve.
right? EGR, yeah.
Exactly.
I already know what it.
I know what it needs to be
Yes,
fixed.
exactly.
But it
Um,
seems like it's just.
I know what it
too expensive
needs
for
to
what
be
it is,
fixed,
so I-
but it seems like
So
it's
I
just
just kind of
too
ignored
expensive
it.
for what it is. So I just
But hey,
So I
it's
just kind of
getting
ignored it.
That might be worth it. There you
But
go.
hey, with this discount that I'm getting, maybe I'll get
Cool,
the parts
man.
and-
Well, Matthew, it's coming up on midnight, so
Put a
we
video
talked
out on it,
about
so.
the reliability of cars. We gave you some inside tips, some inside. We spilled the beans, as it were, and you can tell Matthew is from his dark, undisclosed location. I'm sure he'll be fine. But really, it's
Yeah.
With
Well,
general
there's-
maintenance, with
Yeah.
fluid flush.
There's some other issues that we talked
Yeah, oh,
about
yeah,
with
yeah.
general maintenance,
To
with
touch
fluid
on that,
flush
a
and
lot of
oil
people-
changes.
There's a lot of mixed information.
To touch on that, a lot of
about these
people,
sort of things.
there's a lot of
For
mixed
example, full
information
synthetic oil.
out there about
Everybody
these
says,
sort
"Oh,
of
it's
things.
better
That's
than
what I
that."
use.
For example, full
Yeah.
synthetic oil. Everybody says, "Oh, it's
Yes,
better. It's better."
than traditional bulk oil. but
Well, yes, it's better than
if you have an
traditional
engine that's
bulk
heavily
oil,
worn,
but
like a car with
there is a
100,000
caveat.
miles on
If
it,
you have an engine that's heavily
and most of
worn,
its
like a
life
car with
it's
100,000
used
miles on it
traditional
or whatever,
by
and most
putting
of its
changing
life
over to
it's used
synthetic, it
traditional
actually
oil,
cause an oil leak.
by
Because
putting
the
changing
fluid
over to
dynamics
synthetic,
of
you
the
could
two
actually
different kinds
cause an
of
oil
oils
leak.
is extremely
Because the
different.
fluid
Okay.
dynamics of
There's
the
a
two
video
different
on
kinds of
YouTube
oils
that
is
Mobile
extremely
One put out
different.
that there's an AMS
There,
oil one
there's a video on
and
YouTube that
Mobile
Mobile
One,
One
and
put
they
out that there's an
great
AMS oil
synthetic
one
oil
and Mobile One, and they put
gear mesh,
regular oil,
spin it,
synthetic oil
and
in,
you
in
can see
a
how the different fluids
in a
act
simulated
under
gear
this-
mesh, and they spin it, and you can see how the different
fluid
fluids act
dynamics of this full
under
synthetic
these
oil.
conditions. And the
It's
fluid
more
dynamics
laminar
of this
in
full
how it
synthetic
flows.
oil,
It flows better.
Yeah.
it's
So,
more laminar
If you
in
have
how it
worn
flows. It
gaskets
flows
and
better.
worn seals, which
So,
you would
If you
a high
have
mileage
worn
engine,
gaskets and
the
worn
full
seals,
synthetic oil
which
is going
you
to
would if you have a
find
high
those
mileage
cracks.
engine,
Ah.
the full synthetic oil is going to
Bulk oil.
find
The
those
synthetic
cracks
oil
and
isn't going to
crevices
cause
a
any
lot easier
It's
than
simply
the bulk oil.
going to-
The
It
synthetic
finds
oil
them.
isn't going to
I
cause
see.
any oil leaks.
It'll find
It's
the
simply
leaks that
going
you have
to
better.
find.
So what was a
It'll
little
find the
seepage is
leaks
now
that you have better. So
But
what was
in terms
a
of the
little seepage
technology
is
of
now a
full
drip,
synthetic
you know,
versus
so-
better, because look, I know race cars use them. Corvettes, BMW, they only use the technology is sound. It is better than regular oil, right?
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay.
I have my favorite brands too. I do not like Valvoline oil.
Oh yeah,
because
of
it
course.
has
I have
high
my
ash
favorite brands
content.
too. I do not like
And if
Valvoline
you've seen
oil
what this
because
can
it
do
has
to
a
the
high
inside
ash
of an engine,
content.
probably stay away
And
from
if you've
it.
seen what this can do to the
Browns
inside of an engine,
Wow.
you probably stay away from it as well. It
In certain
browns the
environments, like you
oil.
live out in Arizona, it's hot all the time.
and-
The
and
oil
in certain environments, like if you live out in Arizona where it's hot
Yeah.
all the time, the oil,
Yeah.
if it has a lot of ash in it, can actually
I
sludge.
personally,
and
my
ruin-
favorite brand of oil is Castrol GTX.
I personally, my favorite brand of
I've
oil
heard
is,
of it.
is Castrol GTX. Even the traditional bulk oil stuff. It just,
the best
yeah, it
synthetic
just
oil
doesn't.
that you can buy is probably Amsoil,
Well,
but
the
you're not
best
gonna find
synthetic
that
oil
sitting
that
on
you
the
can
shelf
buy
at
is
your
My
local-
very
probably
first was
Amsoil,
Mobile
but
One,
you're not going to
100%
find that
full.
sitting
Is
on the
that still
shelf at
good?
your local auto.
Mobile One is good, but I think you end up paying too much for it.
Mobile
because
One is
it's like
good,
the-
but
it's like
I
the
think you
go-to
end up paying
brand.
too
I mean,
much
you're
for
paying
it because
the
it's
name.
like the
Castrol
the
GTX
go-to brand. You know,
is just
you're
as
paying
good
for the
as
name.
Mobile One
Castrol
without the price.
GTX.
All right. Well, a full
is
synthetic
just as
oil
good as
change
Mobile
here
One
is
without the
about
price tag.
now the synthetic blends. I'm not talking that. 100% full synthetic runs about 50 versus say 25 for the regular. Does that sound about fair? Right?
That's normal.
Okay.
Pretty normal.
Okay.
There's another interesting
that's
thing
normal.
about fluid
Yeah.
dynamics with
Pretty normal.
transmission.
And
Hmm.
there's another interesting thing
people,
about fluid
if they
dynamics
have an
with
old
transmission
car
fluid.
and they
A
notice
lot of
the
people,
transmission fluid is
if they have an
dirty,
old car
well, maybe I'll
and
have it
they
flushed.
notice that the transmission fluid is
If you don't
dirty,
see
oh, well, maybe I'll
a
have it
transmission
flushed.
flush in the maintenance
Well, if
history
you
of your
don't
car,
see
and it's a high mileage
a
car,
transmission
the fluid's
flush
pretty
in the
dark,
maintenance history of that
don't
car,
touch it.
and it's a high
Don't
mileage
flush
car
that
and the
fluid.
fluid's pretty dark,
Transmissions, the way the
don't
automatic
touch it.
transmissions work is
Don't flush that fluid.
you know, you have a torque
Transmissions, the
converter
way the
front
automatic
pump,
transmissions
it flows
work
through
is,
it, but
is
the part
you know, you have a
that
torque
matters
converter
is
or
the
front
friction
pump and it
plates. You
flows
have a
fluid through it,
series
but
of clutch packs.
the
It's
part
like
that
a
matters
steel
is the
disc
friction plates.
and
You have a
disc
series of
friction
clutch
material,
packs.
and
It's
then
like
the
a steel disc
like they
and
sandwich
a
together
disc
whole
of
bunch
friction
And they're
material.
always spinning,
And then,
right?
you know,
I mean,
there's
they're
like they sandwich together. There's a whole bunch of these in a row.
Planetary
the
gear
shaft.
set.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
There's a
well,
shaft with a planetary
you have a
gear
shaft,
set,
the
and
planetary
pressure
gear
from the
set.
front piston
Yeah,
squeezes
there's a
these
shaft with a
together,
planetary gear
and
set,
that's what
and
locks
the
them
pressure
together
from
and
the
makes
front
things
piston
spin.
squeezes these
Well,
together,
if you have a
and that's what
transmission
locks
that's
them
heavily
together and
worn
makes
has
things
dirty
spin.
fluid, the
Well,
friction
if you have a
material on these
transmission
discs,
that's heavily
it's
worn and has dirty
basically a
fluid,
disc with,
the friction material on these discs,
Yeah.
it's basically a
That's what it
disc
is.
with
It's a
with
type of
a
paper.
friction. It's like
And if
paper.
this is heavily worn, the
That's what
dirt
it is.
and
It's a
the
type
grit
of
that's in the
paper.
fluid,
And if this is
might be
heavily
the only
worn,
thing giving
the
this thing
dirt
enough
and the
friction.
grit that's
Okay.
in the fluid
So
might be
you
the
take
only
this
thing giving
nice
this thing enough
grippy
friction to
fluid
function.
away and put
So
fresh,
you
slippery
take
fluid
this
in.
nice grippy fluid away and put fresh
I've seen
slippery
it happen
fluid in
before,
there.
and like, oh, you messed up my
It can start
transmission.
to slip.
No,
I've seen
It
it
was
happen
already
before, and they're like, "Oh, you messed up my
old
transmission." No,
fluid was holding it
it was
together.
already worn out, but
That
that thick
happens in transmissions.
old fluid
when
was
you
holding
high
it
mileage
together.
transmission. You should do a transmission
That happens
flush,
in
I'd say,
transmissions
about every
when you get
7
high mileage transmissions.
Okay.
You should do a transmission flush. I'd say about every
If you do
75,000.
them regularly, cool.
But
Okay. All right.
You know,
So
if you
oil
do
changes
them
briefly.
regularly,
If
keep
I
doing
like
it.
full
Keep doing
synthetic,
it.
I usually
have
change
to-
it between 5 and 10,000. I put about 10,000 miles a year. So oil change with full synthetic between 5 and 10,000 miles is okay.
Yeah, it's okay. A lot of dealerships these days, manufacturers.
Yeah, it's
are
okay.
recommending,
A lot of
we have
dealerships
our
these
full
days,
synthetic
manufacturers
oil. You
are
can go
recommending that,
10,000
well, we
miles,
have
15,000
our
miles
full
with oil
synthetic
change.
oil. You can go 10,000 miles, 15,000 miles between oil change. I don't agree with that. Working in the shop,
Well,
I've
dirt.
seen some
I mean-
pretty nasty
Yeah.
things happen to engines that
There's a
get
lot of
neglected.
factors, you know. You can't tell everyone.
Yeah,
oh, you can
and
drive it to 15,000
There's a lot of
miles
factors,
and
you
change
know.
oil. That
You
doesn't
can't
apply to
tell
everyone.
everyone, well, you can drive it to 15,000 miles and change oil. Well, that doesn't apply to everybody because people live in different climates. They have different driving habits. You just can't really generalize that way with these statements. But you know, they're not going to print an owner's manual for a specific owner, right? That's not realistic.
I wouldn't.
So even though they say that you can go a certain mileage, I wouldn't. I personally would go about every 5,000 miles for the full
Okay.
synthetics and every 3,000 miles for the traditional bulk.
With modern engines and modern oil,
You know, some people think that might be too frequent. With modern engines,
Clean,
and
it's
modern
where it's
oil,
at.
could
You want to
probably
keep that oil
stretch
as
it.
clean, as fresh as
But
possible.
How
That's
much
the.
does an engine?
engine cost? How much does an oil change cost? You know which one?
How much?
Well, there you
engine
go.
cost?
I'll choose the
How
engine.
much does
Thank
an
you.
oil
No, I'm just
change
kidding.
cost? You know, which one would you rather do?
Well,
It's just one of those things.
we can do a part 2 to this just on how to
Well,
make your
it's-
car last
it's just one of
200,000
those
miles.
things.
Maybe we'll do a part 2 to this because I bet you there's a lot of people who, like myself, and you hang on to their cars, but really need a simple newbie blueprint when to change oil, what kind, how not to get ripped off. I bet you people would want to know that, but that's just my opinion.
Into a car is neglect the maintenance. can be the best
Worst
driver.
thing
You don't
you
have
do
to
to a
abuse
car
it,
is
forget
neglect the
maintenance.
maintenance.
Right.
You can be the best driver, you don't have to
Maintenance,
abuse
number
it, but
one.
if you forget the
Maintenance.
maintenance,
Also, not good to let a
you're
car
not doing
sit
that
for a
car
long
any
period
favor.
of time and not be used.
It's
Right.
also not good to let a car sit for a long period
Right.
of time and not be used.
Motoring,
Cars are
running.
designed to
There's a
be
lot of
driven.
rubber
A lot of
seals and plastic and stuff in the
there's a
engine
lot of
that
rubber
need to
seals
keep.
and
They need to
plastic
stay
and stuff in the
lubricated in
engine
order.
that
You know,
need to
if they
keep.
dry out,
They need to
they
stay
get brittle and
lubricated in
crack.
order
You get oil
to,
leaks and
Makes
if they
sense,
dry
yeah.
out, they can
so
get brittle and
if you
crack.
have a
You
car
get
that you
oil
don't
leaks, and
drive
it's just
very
not.
often, you should at
So,
least go
if you have a
outside
car
and
that you don't
start it
drive
up and let
very
it idle
often,
for
you should at
15 to 20
least
minutes after,
go outside and start it up and let it idle for
I,
15 to
I guess
20
the car
minutes
is like blood.
every,
It needs to circulate
maybe
running, or
once
else
a
it
month
can't,
or
won't do
something
you any
like
good,
that.
right?
Yeah, but letting a car sit without touching it is the
But
car
letting
just
a
gonna
car
rot.
sit
Okay. Well, there you
without
go,
touching it
folks. There's a
is
good tip.
that the
Even if
car
you
is
don't
just
use
going
it
to
a
rot.
lot, run it once a
The
week or something just to keep it.
I'd say want them if you got a car that just sits and doesn't move. I'd say about
Well,
once a
I'd say
month.
want them if you got a car that just
Make
sits
sure
and
it gets
doesn't
full
move. I'd say about
operating
once a
temperature
month
before
would
you
be
shut
good
it
enough.
off.
Well, if
But
the car
you
sits
want to
so, won't
make
the
sure it
tires
gets the
flatten
full
out at the
operating
bottom then?
temperature
That the
before you
tires
shut it
just
off.
get, squished or squashed at that spot?
They can, but
After, say, a
as long
year.
as
Yeah.
if the car's gonna sit, you're gonna
They
the
can,
tires
but
are gonna dry rot. The brakes
Right.
are
Yeah, if the car's going to sit, the tires are going to dry
technically
rot. The
tires and
brakes are
brakes are wearable
that's just going to
items.
Yeah.
happen. But
Don't really worry about
that's
too much.
technically
The
tires and
engine,
brakes are
transmission,
wearable
that
items, so I
really
wouldn't
expensive
really
stuff, you
worry
need to
about
keep
those
that
too
nice
much.
and
Right.
The engine,
healthy.
transmission, and all that
Terrific.
really expensive stuff, you want to keep that nice
And
and
short trips are
healthy.
also
So
bad for an engine.
just
You
run
just
the
start
car
the
once a
car
month,
up,
even if it
go
idles.
a block
And
down the
short
road,
trips
then
are also
turn back,
bad
shut
for an
it
engine.
off.
If you just
That's
start the
not good
car
for an
up,
engine either.
go a
Yeah.
block down the road, and then
You
turn
can get
back, shut it
excessive
off,
carbon buildup
that's
when
not
you
good
do
for an
that.
engine either.
When an engine is
You can get excessive
air
carbon
is more
buildup when you
dense,
do
the
that.
colder it is. So when you
When an
have
engine is
cold air going
air
into a
is
cold
more
engine,
dense the
it
colder
actually
it is.
takes
So
more
when you have
fuel
cold
to
air going
burn
into a cold
properly, so you
engine,
get more carbon.
it actually
Once you
takes
get up to
more
full operating
fuel
temperature,
to get
that
it to
extra
burn
heat
properly,
blows
so
that
you get more
carbon
carbon.
out.
Okay.
Once you get up to full operating temperature,
Right.
that extra heat blows that carbon out,
Matthew,
and
this was
starting to,
terrific.
everything's
Yeah, maybe we'll do a part two sometime
and
one night and talk
not letting
about
a
some
car.
maintenance secrets and tips because I think people want to know. People are holding on to their cars obviously for various budgetary reasons. So this was great. So, folks, if you haven't, yeah,
The car lasts a
Oh, yeah.
very long time.
yeah. I mean, my car is
Make a car last
129,000
a
miles.
very long time.
And for a GM car, what can I say? It's here in the harsh winters. It has been reliable. I mean, that plastic thing came off, but putting aside the cosmetics and a couple design flaws, nothing major where I have to say, geez, I at least not yet. But I'm happy with my purchase for my Buick anyway. We'll see you guys next time. So enjoy your technology and don't text and drive. Be safe. Thank you.